Geula Mamas, it's Tzivi here. I hope you're doing well. I'm very excited to talk with you today. Earlier this week, we heard from Devorah Kur. That was episode 6, I believe. And it was really, really interesting. It got me thinking about the connection between how we feel emotionally, if we're happy, if we're holding on to things, if we have stressful situations that we're bottling down deep down inside of us, and how that comes out in our physical well-being. Now, up until now, that was also known as woo-woo stuff, right? But it turns out that more and more we're finding this is actually real science. Now, while I was talking with Devorah, I was able to link that to the issue of tzorat, right, in the Torah, where Miriam spoke Lashon Hara and she got tzorat, and then we learned about how people would get tzorat or tzoras if they spoke Lashon Hara. Now, there shouldn't technically in our day-to-day world be any connection, and maybe because we don't have tzoras today, for better or for worse, that's how it is. So we really don't see that connection. But it seems more and more that our mesorah that Hashem has given to Am Yisrael, the mesorah of the mind-body connection, all the way back, and we've lost it. We've lost it along the way. I had mentioned Rav Doniel Katz in a different program, and I just think every word this Rav says is amazing. He gives free classes. He gives also paying classes if you want to dive more into the subjects, but there's many hours of free classes, both on YouTube and by signing up through his site. So I will put the link in the show notes. And one of the things that he mentioned that I was just listening to this morning was this issue of I pulled up the word, psychoneuroimmunology, also known as PNI. And this is where scientists, reputable scientists, mainstream scientists are sitting and learning about the mind-body connection, the emotions affecting our healing, affecting cancers, certainly affecting things like childbirth that we know are emotional. We know that. My son was volunteering for MADA, the ambulance here in Israel, and as he did it for, I think, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and he had a lady who was in labor, and she wanted to deliver in a certain hospital, which was really far away, and she was 8, 9, like she was dilated. She was basically ready to deliver any moment. She emotionally stopped her labor. She specifically wanted this hospital that was far away, and the ambulance brought her to that hospital. She did not give birth in the ambulance. She did not give birth until they got to the hospital. And the moment she was settled, she had the baby. She had the baby immediately. I mean, before my son was packed up and back in the ambulance, the woman had already given birth in just those few moments. So we know, I mean, countless examples where we see how our emotions can affect our labor. There's just no question of that. But we don't know why. We don't know if each time it's just our imagination or something. So I brought up for you, I will put the link in. I brought up for you guys the just the Wikipedia, right? If you look up psychoneuroimmunology, there's so much about it. There's even YouTube, there's doctors explaining it. It's a real thing today, which is just, it's really exciting. Baruch Hashem, it seems like we are heading towards the Geula. All of these amazing things are becoming mainstream. It's like Hashem's opening the knowledge and just giving us these beautiful gifts, amazing ways to heal ourselves, to live happier lives along the way. So it says here on Wikipedia, after quoting a lot of scientists and a lot of really hard words, okay? There are now sufficient data to conclude that immune modulation by psychosocial stressors and or interventions can lead to actual health changes. Although changes related to infectious disease and wound healing have provided the strongest evidence to date, So the strongest evidence they have is that our mental state can help us against infectious diseases and wound healing. Those are the last things I would think that it would be able to help us with, right? And this is the strongest evidence to date, possibly also because they can test that more easily than other things, right? The clinical importance of immunological dysregulation is highlighted by increased risks across diverse conditions and diseases. For example, stressors can produce profound health consequences. In one epidemiological study, all-cause mortality, or any reason for someone being ill and dying, increased in the month following a severe stressor, for example, the death of a spouse. So theorists propose that stressful events trigger cognitive and affective responses, which in turn induce sympathetic nervous system and endocrine changes, and those ultimately impair immune function, meaning you have the event, you have your emotional response to the event, because not everybody responds to an event in the same way, right? We all have different responses. When we have a response to something, we might think, oh, well, that's natural. Everybody would react that way, but it's not true. We all react in different ways to seemingly the same types of events. So you have the event, which triggers our personal reaction, which in turn activates our sympathetic nervous system and endocrine changes, hormonal changes. And these then can have a lowering effect, probably also a raising effect, but that's not what it says here, on our immune function. So they gave the example, the death of a spouse. I have for sure heard of situations where somebody passed away and their spouse became either very ill or passed away not long afterwards. Sometimes it's sort of romantic. This couple was together for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, and then one passed away and the other one passed away very soon, and they wanted to be together, There's sort of a beauty to that also. But on the other side, as we're dealing with day-to-day life, there's so many things that can stress us or worry us or affect our well-being. And to know, like really know, not just think, oh, again, the woo people, they say that, but things that we can do, exercise, self-care, meditation, visualization, relaxation, taking a bubble bath, whatever the things, talking with a good friend, talking with a therapist, getting a treatment, massage, reflexology, all of the beautiful things that you hear about on this show, they can really help us, not just maybe help us, not just imaginary help us, but actually really help us, and that the scientific world of cold, hard facts is actually backing that up. That there's so much that Hashem made that we don't understand. And then this is like a little gift, giving us that little tiny bit to be able to make that leap. So it's not just a leap of faith, I believe. Look, it's always good to get a massage. It's always good to, meditate. Why not? But this is saying, no, this is actually a real thing. This is important for me to do, this self-care and dealing with the things that bother me. I think it was Rav Doniel Katz, I was just hearing somewhere that when we repress something that we're not aware of, sometimes we repress something because we need to live, right? If you actually thought about every thought that you've ever had all the time, you would go crazy, right? So part of being a functioning, healthy, balanced a human being is the ability to repress certain things, right? So you have these thoughts, you have these emotions that you have normally and naturally repressed, but when they're bubbling up, when you're having aches, pains, illnesses, worries, stressors, all of these things, it's calling for attention. Hey, look at me. I want your attention right now. And by giving it the attention and sort of digging up the earth and pulling these things out of our body, we can release them. And it doesn't mean that we have to spend many, many hours talking about these things. We're going to be talking about EFT in the future. Some of the things that Devorah spoke about, they just take moments. They take just seconds, minutes, moments of your time. Devorah does just what she was saying with the visualization. I was actually doing that with my kids the other day after we spoke. And I put them to bed at night, and I just did this beautiful, powerful visualization that I just made up on the spot using some of the techniques that Devorah said in her interview. And it was so powerful. They loved it. We just snuggled up in bed, and I said this on the spot visualization, and it was really beautiful. Actually, personally, I'm going to go back and listen to the show again, because I kind of got that skill of the visualization from Devorah, but not as much as I would like to do. So I'm personally going to go back and listen to it again. So if you would like to learn more about that, I encourage you to do the same thing. Now, you can watch the show on YouTube. You can listen to the show on podcast. I encourage you to join us on Facebook and ask questions, have a discussion. Let's talk about these things. It's a private group, so the things that you say, it's a secret, like a closed group. Not secret, private group. So it's closed so that other people don't have to see the things you're saying. Sometimes we're going to talk about girl topics that are private. So please head over to Facebook, look for Geula Mamas everywhere. If you enjoyed this show or any of the other shows, please share it with somebody that you think it could help them, it could benefit, the free information, sending it around and joining together to make Am Yisrael and the women of Am Yisrael a stronger, better, united together. We can do it. We can bring the Geula. So I want you to have a really great day, and remember that I love you. Goodbye. Bye.